obviously we saw charging infrastructure was a key recognized barrier. And so as one of these key recognized barriers, familiarity with this charging infrastructure was a really crucial aspect of the study. Charging stations at key locations like workplaces, residential areas, may help push greater acceptance of electrification and e-mobility, yet a lot of our respondents indicated a disbelief that the existing infrastructure or the public charging infrastructure was sufficient for their charging needs. However, as you can see by the slide, it should be noted that most of the respondents that did not believe the infrastructure was sufficient for them were also those that had never owned an electric or hybrid vehicle in the past, that intender group. And this very well, could be attributed to the fact that they haven't really paid attention to or researched the local charging stations because they just don't own one. They don't need to know. But when questioned whether they were familiar with any charging stations near their home or their workplace, we did see an interesting increase from the previous year's responses to 55% saying yes and 45% saying no across all countries. Taking it a step further, respondents were also asked if they would be more likely to purchase an EV if there was a charging station at their place of work. And the response to this question has been sort of interesting over the last few iterations of the survey. And in 2021, respondents were quite keen on this. They said, 70% said yes, having a workplace charger would increase the likelihood of them purchasing an EV. In 2022, however, that number went down quite a bit to 38% saying yes, and then 39% were just unsure. This year, however, we saw a further drop. We saw 34% saying yes and 41% were unsure. And this seems to sort of further emphasize the potentially deteriorating consumer confidence around EV technology and charging availability. And there seems to be a lot of uncertainty growing since 2021, where we saw, this fair amount of optimism and eagerness for the technology, but it also continues to emphasize that need for easily accessible charging stations outside of the home, and not just easily accessible, but reliable ones as well.